Welcome to Bass and Brews. Jake Harshman, what's going on, hoss?
Not much, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing all right. It's been a wild, crazy afternoon. I drank all my alcohol beverages last night, fooling around in KBM, folks. Man, I told Jeff last night, I feel like I got knighted by the Queen of England after getting to hang around with them and shoot shit. But two things. Alex, you got to fix this intro, man. It cuts off. I mean, you got to fix it. I mean, I don't know if he's going to listen to this, but I got to tell him to keep fixing it because he ain't fixed it yet. He does all these other Tic Tac videos and stuff. He ain't got time to fix our intro.
Tic Tac. Tic Tac.
Tic Tac, man. That's the Tic Tac.
I like it.
Welcome to Bass and Brews. Hooks at Hoodlums. Check those guys out. The spring apparel line is out. They got some good content coming out from their little waters there in the Connecticut areas. And give them a shout. Tell them Paul sent you. And give Wild Bill a big high five. Jake, tell us about yourself, man. Welcome to Bass and Brews. Tell us about yourself.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. Them KBM boys can get a little wild at nighttime. They need to have like an after hours party over there, I think, after their lives. But for me, man, I started kayak fishing in the latter part of 2017. First kayak that I ever bought was an Ascend. I kept it for about a week. And then I went and I bought a Predator PDL, and I felt like I was in a daggone Cadillac. And then I just it kind of took off from there. I started fishing some local stuff here. I think my first 5 tournaments I got skunked, and I was like, what in the world? Like, I thought I knew how to fish. Grew up fishing as a kid, took some time off while I was in the military. And, I thought, like, man, what the heck? I just forget how to do this. And then it all kind of clicked. Like, it's harder. It's a little harder.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, where's here? You said here. Where's here for you?
So originally I'm from Southwest Pennsylvania, but right now I live in Hershey, Pennsylvania now. Okay. Just moved in November. So
sweetest place in America.
Sweetest place on earth is what they say. Old chocolate town. You can go out my back porch and smell chocolate. So
oh man.
It's weird. But yeah, everybody else, they come here and they love it. And my family's like, ugh, what's that? But
hey, when you walk out, I'm in the 3rd fastest growing county in the United States of America, Wake County, down here in North Carolina. And when you walk out my back porch and take a big old breath of fresh air, you smell the fucking dump. And that ain't no lie. There's $1 million homes around here that when you open your windows in the spring and the fall and you want to get some of that nice air blowing through here, it smells like fucking Pepto-Bismol and rotten coons.
Man, that does not sound appealing at all. It almost sounds like, well, we have chicken farms here.
Oh, Lord, hell yeah. I grew up in chicken and turkey farm country now.
Oh, my goodness.
When they spread all that turkey shit during the spring on the farmlands. Yeah.
That is a whole other kind of smell, boy. Let me tell you what. That's
that shit right there make your eyes water.
Oh, you be driving down the road and get a whiff of it and start dry heaving in the middle of your
I was just watching before you got on here, I was watching them fart spray pranks. And if you did that shit to people where I'm from, they'd be like, what kind of perfume you got on today? Because you ride around smelling turkey shit for 3 weeks in the 1st of May.
That's hilarious.
All right, so I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, it's harder. You're in Pennsylvania. What's your body? What bodies or body of water are you fishing mostly?
So I live about 15 minutes away from the closest boat ramp on the Susquehanna River.
Oh my man, come on now.
Yeah, I literally have a world-class smallmouth fishery in my backyard.
You sure enough do.
It's it's special. It's something real special.
So have you started getting calls and DMs and all that stuff for the Hobie event coming up?
Every year that there's an event here, I notice that my followers will go up a little bit, and then after the event, they'll go back down. And I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. I appreciate you. I appreciate you looking. Maybe stay and like something every once in a while. That's.
I know, man. Why they got to unsubscribe? Look, you should hide all your Susky videos. Make all your Susky videos private on YouTube.
I did that last year. It was funny because I'm not going to name names, but one of my buddies called me and be like, "Yo, what are you doing?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Where'd all your Susquehanna videos go?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? They're still on YouTube. I can see them." He's like, "You made them private, didn't you?" I said, I definitely unlisted them. Yes. So like, I mean, it's one of the benefits of being a local. I don't want to give away everything. People got to come here and do the work, just like I got to go to, all these other fisheries and do the work, So
hey, man, that's right. That's right. I mean, that's part of the gift and I guess the curse of putting your stuff out on the YouTube. If you're in one of these fisheries,
right.
And for me here, we got Falls here, Jordan, Sharon Harris, MLF of fame. But they're not like the Susky or Gunnersville or places like that. So we don't have to necessarily we don't have that kind of but these lakes are small anyway. I mean, you can in a boat you can literally hit the majority of all these lakes in one day each.
Yeah.
I mean, they're small lakes.
It's funny because the issue with the river, I think that makes it a little bit worse is that the river's only I say only it's only about a mile wide in some places. That's about the widest that it gets. But you're looking at the shoreline on both sides. You can sometimes really be able to tell where somebody's at. And that's where it becomes an issue. Like if I have a video that is 100%, someone could pinpoint my exact location, I shut it down. And some of that's because of I have local friends that are fishing the tournament too, and
that's right.
They don't put their stuff out there, but I do, and I don't want to take that advantage away from them either. I mean, I also say this with a grain of salt because there's some people that actually go out and do this, but I'm not fishing for likes. I'm not fishing for applaud. Like I'm fishing because I love to, and I also love to compete. So I try to make all my Susky videos private. You gave me a good reminder to do that tonight. So I mean, we're about almost midway through June.
Hey, sorry, y'all. Look, I'm gonna get a bunch of fucking hate mail now. People will be sending us emails, giving us bad reviews on iTunes and Spotify. Oh my Lord, they can be giving us thumbs down. All 3 viewers we get on YouTube are going to be giving us thumbs down now. Jeez, golly.
I'll leave them up until June. How about that?
Oh shit, I don't care. I ain't giving a fish. You take them down now. I mean, let's do it. We got time. We got time. Yeah, that's in looking at your content stuff, and I've been following you on Instagram for a while. This Bass and Brews is built off of content creators first.
Right.
It's not a kayak fishing. It's mostly bass fishing. We've had some saltwater guys, paddler playbook guys on, and we've had some folks like that. But that's what we like to do is find those folks that have a voice on their social media platform, and they either put out educational content, they're putting out funny content, they're putting out stuff that engages people, and you don't have a bunch of crazy editing going on, but you've got really good content that people can take information from, and it's also something that they can watch and have an enjoyable time watching it.
I appreciate that. I try to keep it so anything I make, I try to keep it raw. I don't try to, I'm not trying to make it seem like I caught bigger fish or more fish than I caught. I really just try to keep it raw because I feel like then the average person that's watching this can say, I can relate to that. I enjoy this. What I need to do to get better at the whole content creation thing is remember to talk to the camera. Sometimes, and the problem is like I fish a lot within the city limits of Harrisburg, right? Because the Susquehanna runs right through the middle of it. So, I fish a lot downtown, and there will be people walking by on the bridges above and walking by on the sidewalks beside the river. And you get some weird looks when you're out there talking to yourself in a boat by yourself.
You sure? Yeah.
So, people be like, who the fuck is this weirdo out there? But, it's kind of cool because a lot of people walk by and be like, hey, you got cameras going. I'm like, yeah. They're like, what's your YouTube channel? And I've actually gained some subscribers.
There you go.
But, I try to keep it raw, and I try not to overly edit it, because it's not a production where it's like, I want you to, like, I just want it to be real, and some of my content lately has really revolved around promotion for products, and I really kind of want to get away from that too. Like, I want to get back to just being like, I'm going fishing today. Do you want to come with me? You know what I mean? Even if you can't, you want to watch, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what I want it to be.
Kind of like the Mr. Rogers of fishing. Look, I'm going fishing. What won't you join me? Isn't that what his tagline is?
Something like that. I need to
Jake Mr. Rogers Harshman. Fuck yeah.
I need to remix that intro tune and make it my intro on all my videos. Won't you come fishing with me?
Put you on a little cardigan and shit.
Dude,
or you put your PFD on.
Be careful what you ask for. I'll put on a cardigan next time I go fishing.
Oh hell yeah, man! I saw you talking up some Croc game.
What's that?
Crocs.
Oh, dude, listen, I love my Crocs, bro. People hate on them, but I don't care.
But all right, I wear Crocs, no socks, year round fishing in North Carolina, and now we ain't got Pennsylvania winters. But we have winters, we'll get days we'll be out there fishing and it's 25, 20, 18 degrees. I mean, we get some cold essays, Crocs, no socks, all the time, no matter what. And I tell people the reason is when the sun hits those Crocs, man, it warms your feet up. But your feet sweat. Yeah, your feet sweat. You're riding from your house to the launch. Your feet are sweating. You get out there and then they start to get cold. It's just, mine never sweat. If they get too damn cold, I just stick them in the water and warm them up. It's the worst part is when the wind's blowing. But anyway, don't matter. Socks, no Crocs. That's how I roll. And it's
Crocs, no socks.
Yeah.
You said socks, no Crocs.
Whatever. You know what the hell I meant. I ain't even been drinking tonight, and I still can't talk. Y'all think I'm half drunk? That's just who I be sometimes.
So let me give you a piece of advice about Crocs real quick. Don't ever wear neoprene socks with Crocs because it gets squishy inside. It's just gross.
Yeah, I don't wear nothing with my Crocs. It's my damn ugly old feet and Crocs, and the first thing I do is take them off.
Hey, whatever works for you, man.
I like to have a little bit of pain out there. Keeps me on my toes.
Keeps you focused.
So we got to backtrack because we got off on some tangent shit as we like to do on Bass and Brews. You said you got into kayak fishing, you knew how to fish, and the last thing you said before we got into being where you're from, you said this shit was hard.
Oh yeah, it was an adjustment because growing up primarily I was a wade fisherman. I'd wade out the river, and or I would go trout fishing or something like that. When I was a kid, we fished for whatever would eat. It didn't matter if it was a damn sucker, a trout, a bass. Like, it didn't matter. You fished for whatever would eat, and you had fun doing it.
Were you fishing for food too? Did you?
I really did. So whenever I catch a trout, I would keep the trout because in Pennsylvania, a big stocking program. It was just natural. You catch some trout, you take it home and you eat it. But I would say in my later teenage years, I kind of stopped doing that because I just didn't want to clean them anymore.
That's right.
So I really kind of got away from doing that too. But I did that as a kid, man. In my summers when I wasn't in school or working, I was fishing, and I would do that, from the time I woke up until it would be too dark to see. You know what I mean? So that was how I did it as a kid. But whenever I joined the military and went away for 12 years, it just kind of got lost on me where I didn't fish a whole lot. I went a couple times, but I just didn't go a whole lot. And when I got out of the military, I was playing a lot of golf, and I got incredibly frustrated with that because I got my handicap down to single digits, but then I would still go out sometimes and shoot in the 90s, and I'd be like, "What the? This is this." I would just end up being more frustrated than I was happy, and I'm like, "This is not a hobby. This is something that I'm supposed to enjoy a hobby." And then, you know, I was able to talk my wife into letting me get a kayak, and after that, she regrets that every single day because now I got. I don't know. I probably got $15,000 worth of boats sitting in my garage right now. And she's like, "Well, there's no fucking. We don't have no electric this month. Like, but we got a boat. It's okay because we got a boat." So, but yeah, I mean, it was tough though, man. It was tough making that transition because I think what most people don't understand when you're kayak fishing is how close you are to the water. Right? You don't have a lot of leverage. You know, when you're standing up on the deck of a boat or you're standing on the shore in general, you typically have anywhere from 5 to 6 feet of leverage on that fish, right? But you don't have that leverage no more when you're in a kayak. That leverage is gone. The fish now has the advantage. And, you know, learning how to both present baits while you're in a kayak as well as how to set the hook. I can't tell you how many fish I lost in my first couple years because I wasn't doing it right, you know? And when I say wasn't doing it right, when you set the hook on a fish, you have to use all the features that you have against the fish. So when you're setting the hook and you're setting the hook across the bow or across, you know, if you're facing up current and you're setting the hook away from the current, you know what I mean? Like you have to really kind of pay attention to that stuff. Because it helps you get those better hook sets because a lot of times, you know, you think about it, a kayak gets pulled towards the fish when you set the hook, right? You set the hook and you're losing so much from already being down at water level, but now you're also getting pulled towards it. You lose a lot of power on that hook set. So one thing that really helped me in basically catching and landing more fish was switching over to almost all my reels are straight braid and I'll use a very small leader because I'll tell you right now, I have one rod in my garage that has 2 foot of monofilament. That's it. Because
a top water rod or something.
It's a spook. It's a spook and popper rod. But when you have stretch and then you have a kayak that moves towards the fish and then you're already down losing that leverage, you have stretch, bro. It's done. And I go ahead.
The question I'm going to ask, you've talked about this before on some other podcasts I've listened to, and I think you've got some stuff on the Instagram or YouTube using like a medium action rod for you know, your chatterbaits and stuff like that. Dive into that action rod while you do that, because a lot of people are single hook, big hook. I need something with some power behind it. So they're medium, heavy, fast, or, you know, heavy, something like that. And now you talk about a little bit less power.
When you think about fishing a chatterbait or any kind of moving bait, really, what I typically tell people is that you need to have a rod that has a good amount of bend to it, but still has a beefy enough backbone. And that, you know, so many different rod manufacturers out there, and they all have different powers. And you know, a medium in G Loomis might be a daggone medium heavy plus in another manufacturer, you know?
Yeah.
So you really have to play with it and toy with it a lot. But what, you know, for specifically my chatterbait rod is a medium heavy glass rod. And I don't have anything here that I could compare it to in size, but it's thick. Like it's a thick backbone rod, but it has a whole lot of tip to it. Like if you whip that thing, you're like, man, that damn looks like a crappy rod, but it's that's what you need in order to keep that fish pinned whenever you're fishing any kind of moving bait where, you know, those fish are just doing all kind of stuff. Like you got to have some bend. If you don't have bend, you're going to rip a hole in their mouth. You're going to rip a hole in their mouth. So the heavier the rod, the you know, power that you use and the less, you know, moderate action it is, you're ripping a hole in that fish's mouth. Every time you yank back and set the hook, you're just stretching it a little bit. And that fish don't need but a little bit of stretch in their gill or in their mouth to come up and then I don't know what motion I just made, but I don't do that. They come up and they do that head shake, and next thing you know, your lure's flying back at you, and you're like, well, shit, how'd that happen? I got a heavy power rod. I'm throwing a half-ounce chatterbait. They shouldn't have been able to overpower me. They didn't. They overpowered themselves.
And how much of that, because you're fishing current, obviously, Susquehanna is a river, so you got a lot of current. Also, I have never caught a smallmouth out of there, but I've heard that they are a different breed of fish.
Yeah, they're different.
And obviously, you're not going to change. You come down to North Carolina, Florida, you're not going to change your gear for that. But how much of fishing for those fish specifically has geared you towards that kind of makeup with your gear?
So a lot, a whole lot. I have rods right now that are basically dedicated to the Susquehanna. And then I figure out different ways to apply those rods whenever I go to different fisheries. But primarily, I'm a power fisherman, and quite often I'm running a bank. Holy shit!
Bless you, child.
It was a hiccup. It was terrible. But I'm running a bank and I'm chucking a spinnerbait in some wood, or I'm skipping a chatterbait up underneath stuff, and hell, even my Ned rigs, whenever I really have to be forced to use it, like I don't like letting it sit still. That's stupid to me. Like if you don't want to eat it whenever I toss it in there, get the hell out of here. I'll go find one that does want to eat it. All I need is 5 dumb ones. One dumb one at a time, but 5 total. That's all I need. So, I really take what I do here in the Susquehanna, which I'll tell you right now, 90% of the time I'm fishing in this river, I'm power fishing. These fish are on a treadmill and they got to eat, so they aren't shy about it.
Yeah.
But I try to really apply that whenever I go to other fisheries, and I'm really just looking for the right fish. I'm looking for those fish that are active and the ones that want to eat. There's a dog outside barking. I don't know if you can hear it, but
no, man, we can't hear that. You good?
But yeah, taking what I have initially was tough because I bought rods that were specific, for what I was trying to do here.
Yeah.
But now that I've advanced and kind of evolved, I have 40 casting rods in my garage and 4 spinning rods down. It's a 10-to-1 ratio down there, but I've really kind of branched out, and I basically have one for every purpose now.
Yeah.
Trying to be more well-rounded, I guess you could say.
That's the evolution for a lot of tournament guys in the kayak world. Obviously, just in general, you get, because it's a feel, right? I try to. I've got rods that I can throw 2 or 3 different things on, but I don't necessarily like to, because I have my top water rod and I have my cranking rod, and they're 2 different rods. They're the same powers, same height, same lengths, but they're very different, just like you just said. And I talked about this. We talked about this with Joe LaBarbera last week about different rods and power. Anyway, I'm getting to
he's a TFO guy, isn't he?
Huh?
Isn't Joe a TFO guy? Does he use TFO rods?
Alpha Angler.
Alpha. Okay, my bad. I was thinking
Alpha Angler out of Oregon, or
okay, I got
somewhere over there. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to get my new cranking rod is going to be theirs. But they're the same rod, and I actually switched them. But like I still, if I like to throw. I'm going to take both, is what I'm saying.
Right.
I could, because after the sun comes up here, the spook goes up, and that's what I'm throwing. That's it. That rod gets put up when the sun gets high, it gets put up. I might try to chunk it later in the day, but I could tie my crankbait on there and carry one rod to do 2 different things in the summertime here. Right. But it's just the feel. It's the feel of casting those different things. I think that's an evolution that people get to, is you have a certain feel that you want on a jig rod, or a certain feel that you want on a bladed jig versus maybe what you throw on a swim jig or what you throw with your spinner bait. And as it just it's that confidence thing, but I think there's some of those little small intricacies about fishing that you get dialed into.
So 2 of the absolute best jig fishermen that I know, Jeff Little and AJ McWarther. Okay. 2 of the absolute best jig fishermen I know throw their jigs on a spinning rod. Medium heavy or medium plus or whatever, type of rod they use. They throw their jigs on a spinning rod. And those 2 guys catch a lot of fish whenever they get to go fishing. AJ don't get to fish a whole lot anymore.
Yeah.
He's too busy. But when he does get to go fishing, that dude will catch them. And he'll catch them big.
That's what I hear.
Jeff Little's the same way, where he does a lot of his jig fishing and almost all of his finesse presentation type stuff, or and I don't want to say reaction because you can use a jig as a reaction bait, but when he's fishing something on the bottom, Jeff is almost always using a spinning rod, and it's something I need to get better at. I don't want my wife to hear this, but I actually need to buy another spinning rod. Careful, I'm getting ready to be shot. You're about to have a murder on your podcast.
Oh man, shit, that would be great for clicks and likes and views.
That'd be great for viewership, right? But yeah, that's one of the deals. Like I feel like they feel they have better bottom contact with it when you're fishing that kind of stuff. And I could see it. I could definitely see it because it's a lot easier to get something on the bottom with a spinning rod and keep it on the bottom than it is with a casting rod. But
and you hear people talk about too with the spinning rod with bottom contact stuff is you're holding the rod,
right?
Where in casting you're holding mainly the reel,
right,
and then the stuff underneath. So you've got that a whole different level of.
You have a lot more connection from
what
from what you can feel. You're much more connected, and just like you said, when you're using a spinning rod, your hand is basically almost always on the blank, right?
Yeah, it's on the rod.
When you're using a casting rod, it's not.
You got some fingers, but you're palming the reel,
right? So that's probably where those guys or why those guys catch those bigger fish, because yourself, big fish sucks that lure in, and they mess with it for a little bit, maybe, but they're spitting it out before you feel it. Most of the time when someone feels the bite, what they feel is that lure hitting the gullet.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't feel the fish mouth it and taste it and see, what it felt like. They don't feel any of that until it's like, they're like, oh shit, bite. And next thing you know, they're hooking them.
Well, damn, jig fishing, I mean, especially if you get up in the 1/2 and 3/4 ounce football head jigs, you don't usually feel a thump.
No,
what you feel is weightless. It's
right.
It's am I hung up or is it that's the thing is it's weightless. You don't even feel that, and they got a damn 3/4 ounce piece of lead or tungsten in their mouth. It's crazy how long they held on to that shit anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because how many times have you seen, even on a professional circuit, like they'll cast out and they don't feel it, but next thing you know, like they'll cast out this way, but their line starts moving in front of their boat, and they're like, "Oh, I got a bite."
Oh shit, yeah.
And I've had it happen to me. Like it's funny with smallmouth, because smallmouth here in this river, at least, and I'm sure in many other places, but when a smallmouth bites something, they normally aren't shy about it. But one thing that I have noticed that they do is if you don't feel it and they bite it and eat it and it's in their mouth, they don't waste time. They don't just kind of sit there and like, all right, we're going to wait and see what happens. No, them some bitches, they'll pick up the bait and then they swim like over here. And then you're like, oh shit. You're trying to catch up to them if they're coming at you. Like they're quick about it. But most of the time here though, I'll tell you, dude, from April through mid-November, you can almost always get a reaction bite around here, whether it's a crankbait or a spinnerbait or a chatterbait, or my favorite is getting ready to come into play here within probably the next couple of weeks is a topwater. You can get a topwater bite basically from mid-May all the way through sometimes November. And dude, they'll eat it all day long. They'll eat it all day long. It's stupid. Like,
It
it's
is,
just stupid.
but it is so hard for me. I throw the regular spook and the spook junior,
Yeah.
and it is so hard for me to put that sumbitch down. I mean, I don't catch a lot of fish on them, but I catch good quality fish, and not a lot of small fish are going up after those typically. But I'll fish them. I'll fish them things. Our water clarity down here is 2 foot on a good day.
Yeah.
Like, that's good water clarity. I'll fish them in 10, 12 foot of water, and I'll catch fish off of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard for me to put down. I finally got to the point. I know if the sun's high and we don't have any clouds, it's done. It's 9 times out of 10, it's done for us around here. But I'll still, like I said earlier, I'll still have that rod back there and want to go. I'll chunk it into a damn lay down and work it around all that stuff, just hoping something goes up and nails it.
If it's not good conditions for a topwater around here, what I find works the best is a wake bait. Something just underneath the surface, and it's like it changes things for them. Like they can get a kind of a bead on it and see what it is. You throw some sort of natural wake bait around here, whether it's like whether it's a rat or something else like that. Like, you throw that, dude, they get after it on days when topwater is really not going good.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, I'll tell you, man, it's about mid-June. I'll pin a Whopper Plopper 110 or 130 in my hand, and I won't put it down until the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gonna be there. And the way these fish strike a Whopper Plopper, or even if you want to use a Chapo, any of that prop style bait, they get violent, dude, but just absolutely hateful the way that they come after these things. And a lot of it, I think I equate a lot of it to the fact that, a lot of this river is like 2-3 feet deep. So whenever they get this thing coming across the surface and that sound reverberates against the ground, and they're just like, it just pisses them off. And they're like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, why would you come in my house and blare your subwoofer? I'm gonna punch you in the face. Like, that's kind of the way they feel. And a lot of times, dude, they're not eating it because they're hungry. They're eating it because they hate it. That's the fish I want to catch. Yeah. I don't want the one that's like, well, I'm not sure if I'm hungry. I might eat. I've been gaining a little weight. I probably shouldn't eat any. I want that one that's like, I fucking hate you, and I'm going to destroy you because you're a worthless piece of shit. That's the fish I want to catch.
And that's you want the one that woke up on the wrong side of the bed, spilled the damn cereal in their lap, headed into work listening to some death metal, and it's like, I want to fuck some shit up today.
I want a wife that's been married for 20 years that her husband doesn't pay attention to her anymore. I want that fish.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I want that one that's just hateful and angry. I love you, babe.
You're doing a lot of apologizing tonight. You need to do podcasts somewhere else, man.
I tend to not apologize a whole lot, which tends to get me in trouble.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But
and so we talked about the chatterbait, and you've got your chatterbait set up, and what you use is a trailer, or better yet, what you don't use as a trailer. Talk about that, because it's very different than what I've ever heard anybody talk about. Not that I've heard everybody or a lot of people, but you're one of the folks that I'm pretty sure lives and dies by not using a certain type of trailer. Talk to us about that.
I don't use a cross style bait as a trailer on a chatterbait. Cross style baits don't really have a place, in my opinion, as to what I'm trying to imitate with the crawfish or with the chatterbait. I typically will use a Yamamoto Seiko, or I'll use the Z-Man Razor Shads. I have a local guy around here that makes a trailer for the for the chatterbaits that it looks like a Zako, but it's about a half-inch shorter. Have you ever noticed whenever you're throwing a chatterbait and the tail comes around and gets caught on the hook?
All the fuck yeah. I hate that shit.
So
it's
he
on the
makes
cap too.
So the Zako and the Razor Shad are both, I think, 3.5 inches long. He makes a bait that's only about 3 inches long. And that extra, that half inch that's cut off, it really helps that tail from kicking back around. Yeah, it really helps that tail from kicking back around. If I do use a cross style bait as a trailer on I think you're talking about something else now too. But if I use a cross style bait as a trailer on a chatterbait, I flip it up vertical and give it that bait fish profile. But I think what you really want me to talk about is you want me to talk about the not using the boot style bait. So it's not a secret because Tactical Bassin put it out on their channel. But the boot style bait takes away from the action of the blade, depending on the type of boot style swim bait that you put on there. If you put that on there and you got your blade moving up here and you got your tail moving back here, and if they're not moving in the same sequence, you're not helping yourself. One of them's taken away from the other, right? So Tactical Bassin said if you absolutely must use a boot style trailer on your chatterbait, flip it upside down, because then the tail is actually impacted by the blade and not taking away from the blade. So that tail just kind of goes like this while the blade's getting real wide, and you know what I mean? So it's not detracting away from the action. The most of the time when you get bit with a chatterbait, when you get bit, like first 5 cranks.
No, yeah, you're asking me a question?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Shit.
Normally it's within the first 5 cranks.
That's right.
Throw it in somewhere. Why? Well, because they get pissed off at the sound. They get pissed off, especially with the jackhammer. They hate that sound, right? So they just want to come up and make it stop. That's when you get most of your bites with a chatterbait. If you cast it out there and you got something prohibiting that from happening, you're missing a lot of bites. I'm not going to say that you're not going to catch fish with a boot style trailer, no matter how you rig it. You will, but you're missing that first 5 feet of action. And a lot of anglers make the mistake of casting right where they want to fish and don't cast past it. Well, if you cast right where you want to fish and you start reeling it away and you think that there's a fish there, you're probably right. But you just missed that fish because you didn't present your bait correctly with the right style trailer. But those 2 things are 2 baits that I don't typically use for a chatterbait trailer. I don't use a crawfish because I don't know. I'm not trying to imitate a crawfish whenever I'm using a chatterbait. If I'm trying to imitate a crawfish, I'll use a jig, But the big one is that boot style trailer. I don't have it. I have 1 pack of boot style trailers, and the only reason I have it is because Z-Man makes it in a color that is freaking fantastic for the Susquehanna River, but they don't make it in the Razor Shad. And I'm not talking about what color that is. I'm not gonna. It's a special bait color. It's wild how identical to the bait fish it looks like here. So, but yeah, that's something that I don't do. I hate using that boot style trailer, because if you really understand and fish a chatterbait as much as I do, because I love a chatterbait. If you fish it as much as I do, you will feel the difference between using it with a boot style and not. Because I get a lot of bites. I'll give you a perfect example. Did you watch that Knarr review?
No, I haven't. Not yet.
Okay. It's a long one, so I don't blame you. But about midway through, I caught a fish. And the only reason why I knew that I had that fish is because my rod tip wasn't vibrating correctly. It just wasn't vibrating correctly. And by the time my brain processed it and my brain told my hands to do something, I had slack line. So I was like, and I reeled down a long ass ways. And then finally I just bowed up on it and thank God it was still there. But the only reason I knew that I had that fish on was because my rod tip wasn't doing what it was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that boot style trailer on there and that blade's not vibrating like it's supposed to, you're going to miss bites.
And that's the whole thing about why the jackhammer is such a successful lure above all other bladed jigs is the reason that people say is because when that reel engages on your reel, that blade is instantly going. And
so that's what Z-Man really has a patent on. You know, Z-Man has a patent on that connection, right? That blade to head connection. That's the one thing that people can't copy. And if you think about it, Strike King tried to, and they made that one that rotates, right? But they didn't do it like Z-Man, so they didn't infringe on the copyright. There's other companies that have tried to do a chatterbait similar to the way that Z-Man has done it, but they haven't copied it directly because they're not allowed to, because the Z-Man has that patent on it. And it's a really special way to fish when you fish with that jackhammer and you can feel everything. You know exactly what happens when it comes through the water, and you know exactly when it hits grass. You know exactly when it hits wood. And I'll tell you right now, sometimes it'll stop vibrating and I'll just set the hook and I might have had like a little piece of something on it. And I'm just, oh shit. Like but I'm like, I'm not taking that chance, you know, hook sets are free, right? So, but yeah,
you take one into the mouth.
Well, I've been close. I've been real close.
Yeah. Because you're fishing shallow water. I mean, yours is throw and reel. You're fishing top of water column. What'd you say? You usually got like 3 feet.
Yeah, I mean, most of you can walk across the Susquehanna in most places.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's big and wide, but it's there's a lot of places on the Susquehanna you could walk from one side to the other and not get your knees wet.
What's the big boat pressure on that lake? On that river is it mainly a kayak or wading fishing river, or do you have boat traffic?
So I would say it's primarily a smaller craft type of river, whether that's a kayak or a float tube or something like that. But we have a very special kind of boat that's made up here. It's called a rock-proof boat. It's a tin can with a piece of UHMW on the bottom of it. And a lot of those guys are running a jet motor on it, and they're running it in a tunnel hole. So there's a cutout in the bottom of the boat that's welded up, and the motor actually sits in that cutout. And those guys can run 40, 50 mile an hour in inches of water.
Damn. So it's like a damn jet ski.
It's like a damn jet ski, but it's like a up armored tank jet ski. And dude, I've been on the boat with a couple of my buddies that guide, and they've been like, hey, we're gonna bump and grind. And I'm like, we're gonna do what now? What kind of fishing trip is this? And they're like, no, we're gonna hit some rocks. And I'm like, oh, and they weren't lying. Like you feel it as you feel it when you're scooting across gravel. It's like, and then you look back and there's a cutout in the bottom of the river, and then water's just going everywhere, and you're like, holy shit. Like,
how do they fish out? Are they push poling or are they drifting? They got trolling motors?
A lot of times they drift, but they do run a trolling motor. But you need to have on a jet boat with that UHMW on the bottom of it, you have to have the most powerful trolling motor. Otherwise, your trolling motor is not really going to hold you in the current. So they're using a bunch of 112 pound thrust. That's what a majority of them are using for their trolling motors. And typically they're not going a whole lot upstream. Like the jet boats will go to like the top of an area where they want to fish, and they'll shut their motor down, and then they'll kind of drift while using the trolling motor to navigate the spots that they want to fish. The reason why I think kayaks are actually more effective in this river is because we fish it a different way, unless you're floating. Like if you're one of those guys that do a float trip or something like that. But you know, when kayaks are fishing this river, we're presenting our bait more with the natural flow of the river because we're fishing from the bottom to the top most of the time. You know, whether that's with a pedal drive or a motor, or if you're just paddling, we're typically fishing from the bottom to the top because most guys don't do floats here. If they do floats, they still present their baits that way. I think kayaks are more effective in the river for that reason. Plus, a lot of times we get out of the water or out of the boat and into the water and pull our boat along and fish. So that's another, we can really fish an area more thorough and more effective than a lot of boats can. So
you probably ain't putting a rope around your waist, toting that damn tank steel, whatever UHMW PR5 boat that you just said, whatever the hell the damn name of that boat is. You probably ain't putting that around your waist and toting it up river.
You ain't doing much with it, no. But I would encourage you and any of your listeners to go check out those boats. Rockproof is the one that's common up here. Dude, they make some watercraft that you're like, wow. You know what I mean? Like these boats, I don't even think these boats are allowed in competition. Because they have to be that way to use them around here.
Yeah, none of like the professional series boat guys, it has to be, I think the minimum length is 18 feet, and then it's no jet motors. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Yeah, jets are allowed. Just because of how shallow they can go.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna pause real quick because my back teeth are floating. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, man. Good luck.
I'll try not to fall in.
Yeah, do that. So while he's gone, what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna plug Hookset Hoodlums again. Y'all go check them out. Use the code HEELS10. Also, we have a Bass and Brews TikTok. Check that out. Alex is putting out some great content on the TikTok. It is really, really good stuff. Check out Bass and Brews YouTube. Right now, everything is still going to Alex's Swamp Rat Fishing YouTube page, but we're going to transition it over to the Bass and Brews because of cleanliness, and apparently there's new algorithms that the algorithmic people are saying, I don't know, it doesn't fucking matter. Just go subscribe to the Bass and Brews YouTube page because we're going to have some stuff. When Alex gets back from this next little tour that he's doing, we're going to have some stuff coming up. We're going to do some more lives. We're going to do some more interactive podcasts and events with you folks and with our guests. So subscribe to Bass and Brews podcast on the YouTube because you ain't going to get it on the Swamp Rat Fishing page no more. So make sure you go check that shit out. All right, man. You had to get you a beverage, eh?
Yeah, I got to wet the whistle a little bit. Plus, I want to make you jealous.
Uh-oh.
You said you ain't got no brews.
No, I drank all my shit last night, man. I ain't got a damn drop and didn't have time to come get none before this thing started. So I'm drinking. I got a Pepsi Cola. I might crack that open, at least pretend I'm doing. So it looks like the Bud Light 8 alcohols I've been drinking. So we'll see. I don't know.
I like it.
My fat ass. I need to lay off anyway. I need to lose some damn weight. I'm getting so fat I can't bend over to damn take a picture of my fish right. I got to almost put it on my lap now. That shit ain't
not what I thought you were
jumping out.
Not what I thought you were trying to take a picture of. It's not what I thought you were going to say.
Shit. Look, I about can't see that thing either.
No, I feel you though, man. This whole COVID shit, I probably gained about 30, 40 pounds since COVID started. And we're going on what, year 4 or 5 now? Who knows?
Man, I woke up one morning and turned into a stay-at-home dad to a kindergartner and a third grader.
Yeah, and you became a teacher.
Yeah, I come from a family of teachers. My grandparents, mama, daddy, aunts, uncle. I mean, everybody. And matter of fact, my mama and my aunt taught me every year I was in high school, 7 through 12.
Wow.
And I knew damn well I never wanted to be a teacher. And here I am trying to tell my kids, like, why are we doing schoolwork at home and why are you teaching me? Like, we had a few weeks of what's going on here. And I'm not a good teacher. I'm an impatient motherfucker. And so
I tell you, man,
it was not a good time. We did learn how to make soap and wine, though. I did enjoy teaching them that.
When I had to listen to some of the stuff that the teachers were teaching, I was like, man, you better get you some headphones, bud. I don't want to hear any of that, because they were doing that Zoom stuff, right? I'm like, you need to get you some headphones, because I do not want to hear it. I'm just gonna make me angry. But yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
What tournaments? What tournament trails? Local, regional, national, all that. Have you been fishing this year?
So this year, we have a real good local trail here. We have a couple really good local trails. You have the Mid-Atlantic Kayak Bass Fishing Series, and those guys typically draw anywhere from 30 to 50 people. And then we have the Delaware Paddle Sports Kayak Bass Fishing Series, and they're pulling in around the same numbers. And they're basically competing tours, but they work really well together. They, the both trails, they don't schedule dates on top of each other. And, they have 2 co-hosted events this year where they're combining. And I really like both of those trails. I know the tournament directors and the presidents and everybody for on the leadership teams of both trails. They're fantastically ran. It's, in my opinion, it's like a BOS on a much smaller scale. You have some really good tournament directors here with those 2 organizations. And ultimately, man, like, there's a bunch of competing trails around here, but I really choose to fish those 2 because they're the best. They have the best leadership and the best, rule structure and how they do things. But we're so oversaturated, man, with trails. You have a trail called Kayak Anglers of Pennsylvania. Oh, goodness. And they have, I think they have 6 different chapters in different regions of the state.
Damn.
And those guys all pull typically 30 to 40 anglers for their tournaments. And then you have another one that's in Northern Virginia. It's NVKBA. Like, they typically pull 30 to 40. If we could get all those clubs to basically combine and stop competing against each other, we could have a Queen City kayak bass fishing here where you're pulling 100 plus per event. It's something that we could have here, but I like the way it is right now too. It's a really close knit group of guys. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. I love fishing with those guys, and hell, man, I've actually been sitting here thinking the past couple of days, I would love if they would have me on the leadership team next year and let me not fish and sit back and judge and kind of give back,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a lot of fun. But outside of that, on the national level, I'm trying to fish as many BOS events as I can. But if your finger ain't ready on that trigger on that Friday when they release it, you're watching from home this year. So
they still got some spots for Broken Bow open, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm not driving, what is that, 18 hours for me?
I am fucking home.
It seems like a great location, but I don't know if I'm driving 18 hours for it. So, you know what, though? I will say, compared to what they had last year, they've really put these tournaments on the right bodies of water at the right time of the year to really maximize your chances as an angler to catch a lot of fish and to catch big fish.
No.
I think it's really, what AJ has done this year and the group of people that help him out. What they've done this year is truly commendable. And I think that, because of the pioneers like AJ, kayak fishing now has a legitimate, place in competitive bass fishing, because and it's because of obviously it's because of KBF. KBF started all this, right? And we wouldn't be here without KBF. But the BOS has really advanced it to where it is right now, and has really just made it. It's pretty special what's happening right now. People are competing to get into the event, to compete.
A non-motorized,
right?
Event.
Non-motorized, and
you brought up Queen City. I don't know what they're averaging this year, but last year I averaged like 117 anglers per tournament.
Yeah,
non-motorized.
Right. That's freaking awesome, man. Like, it's freaking awesome. Like, when you get that, and personally, so I'm a motor guy. I'm sponsored by Team Torqeedo, right? I'm Team Torqeedo guy. I love my motor. I think my motor is amazing, and I love having it. But I don't think it has a place in certain levels of competition. I think at the elite level competition, it should be all human powered, because that's what puts a real level of physicality involved in it.
Well, that's the essence of kayak fishing.
It is 100%. But I will not trade my motor for anything whenever it comes to fishing this river, because, buddy.
But you'd be walking around with damn thighs that damn big around if you had to.
My goodness, dude. Like, you will get yourself a workout.
I bet.
Fishing this river for a week with no motor.
So what you're saying is you didn't gain weight because of COVID. You gained weight because you got a Torqeedo.
100%. I tell Jeff Little all the time, when you bring someone on Team Torqeedo, you should be giving them a damn gym membership too. I tell him all the time. I'm like, it's your fault. It's you and the Germans is why I gained 40 pounds.
Hey, I want to go back you said something about like combining all the clubs in there to have a Queen City type club where you're averaging 100 plus people. Do your bodies of water that you would fish, are they big enough to hold 100? Because we got the 3 lakes we have here, you get 60, 70 kayak anglers on there because of how these lakes set up.
Yeah.
Especially falls. It gets congested because you can't take a lot of runs.
I think that's one of the biggest struggles, right? But with that said, you can easily do 100 anglers on the Susquehanna. I think 200's a lot. It could be really, really, really tight for people at 200
We're
anglers.
about to find out.
We're going to find out for real. But you can definitely do 100. 100 is no problem. You can do 100 easily on the Upper Chesapeake Bay. You can do 100 easily on the Potomac. So those 3 major bodies of water, you can absolutely do 100 plus people on those. And I think any tournament that's had on those bodies of water, if it was a combined club, would absolutely draw 100 anglers. There's other places where I would say that it would be a little bit more difficult. We have a lot of small reservoirs, a lot of small lakes up here. And 100 would really, really push the envelope on a lot of them. So, that would be tough. And it is a major setback, I think, for the combination of that. But, we have the bodies of water that can hold the 50 to 75. 100 would be pushing it outside of the 3 that I previously mentioned. But, the reality is I just would love to see a consistent 50 to 75 anglers on some of our bigger lakes and stuff like that. I would love to see it. I know it's doable. I just, there are some ponds in Delaware where 10 might be too many. I'm not even joking with you, dude.
Well, shit, you couldn't fit 100 kayakers in the state of Delaware.
It's tough. I mean, but the nice thing is Delaware has probably 200 ponds, so you could probably have a Delaware state event and say everybody go wherever they want to
That's right.
do like a roadrunner deal. But yeah, that's a struggle, having the sizes of the fisheries. But we could easily branch out to a place like Raystown. Raystown Lake in Pennsylvania is the biggest landlocked lake that we have in the state, I think. That's a place that could easily hold 100. The Delaware River, that fishery, that both tidal and the upper Delaware River, I think could handle 100. They're here. They're just few and far between. They're not like what you guys got down south, though, for sure. I mean, you guys have some bigger bodies of water down there than we have up here. So
yeah. Your damn, what the hell was I about to say? Shit, it was a good question too.
Did you write it on the whiteboard?
No, I did not. I got a bunch of. I got my shopping list on that motherfucker right now, and I'm scared to erase it all. I mean, I could take a picture with my phone, but anyway, But my handy whiteboard comes in handy. Like usually when I got to go tinkle, I write it on here, and be like, I gotta go tinkle, keep talking, and then some other stuff. But no, I didn't. That's probably the damn problem, is because I didn't. I tried to remember what the hell I was gonna say. It didn't work. I don't know. We'll go to the next thing that I was thinking about though. You mentioned you did a Knarr review.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of kayak are you fishing out of now?
So currently I have a Hobie Pro Angler 14 360. I am one of those weird oddball guys that prefer the bicycle pedal motion over the kicking motion. The kicking motion actually hurts my back a little bit. But I opted for the Pro Angler whenever I left Team Old Town. I opted for the Pro Angler because it was the best platform on the market. And I still believe it's the best platform on the market. You're not going to find a better fishing platform than the Hobie Pro Angler platform. Whether you pick the 12 or the 14, it offers you the most amenities, the most maneuverability. It offers you a lot of really good things that you can't find in every other kayak. But what Jackson did with the Knarr, some people were going to say that they copied the Pro Angler, and why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Right?
Fishing is a game of copycats.
Right. Why
would everything like?
So but see, what they did was they came out with a boat, and here's what I think is most important, right? So Jackson realized that for a few years they were not a competitive talking point in the pedal drive market. They just weren't. Their pedal drive was, to be blunt, it was shit. It was grindy. It failed a lot. There was this issue and that issue, and they didn't have a good steering system really, and it was just kind of silly, right? But they listened to their pro staff. They brought in some of the most respected anglers in the country, and they had them say, what do you want out of a boat? What can we do to put more people in our boats? And what can we do to ultimately make you guys satisfied with the product that we put out? And any company that's willing to admit a little bit of fault and have some humility and say, how can we improve? You, the consumer, tell me how we can improve. How could you not be rooting for that company? Right? And what they did with the Knarr was they listened. They listened to their guys and girls, and they put a hell of a product out there for people to have another option. Do I think it's better than a Pro Angler 14? Better is a very relative term. It's better in some ways. It's not in others. But, they have just made a boat that's going to appeal to a market of people that were they were the never Hobie people, right? The never Hobie. I'll never be in a Hobie. The people that hate that kicking motion, they just appealed to those people. And now they've made a boat that's fast, I mean, that boat is sneaky fast. And they made a boat that's, there's going to be some reviews of people who say they don't like it, but these are probably kicking people. They made the pedal drives a lot more smooth. They improved the rudder system. The boat turns without being under power. Like you turn the rudder and it just starts creeping. That's how responsive that rudder is. I showed that a couple times in the video where, the boat literally just starts creeping when you turn the rudder to the direction you want it to go to. They also added some cool features. They put the horizontal rod storage on there, which is very important for me. The tri-track, which I didn't mention last night. The tri-track is, it's freaking awesome because how much do you love having your H rails?
Mm-hmm.
A lot, right? You can mount a lot of shit to your H rails. How much is each H rail accessory?
At minimum $50.
Right? So now think about the fact that you have a full length track in your boat that you can mount any accessory that you already have, that you don't have to go buy a new accessory, whether that's a rod holder or whether that's this, that, and the other. If you got a T-bolt, it'll go in there, right? So they really made it where it's so easily rigged that, they hit on that feature, right? They made their tank well bigger, so you can put the ginormous crates if you want to take a metric fuck ton of shit. You can, you could probably take a whole complement of gear out to fight a damn forest fire in a Knarr and get there pretty quick. Nice. I'm gonna get you a little red light to put on the front of the Knarr. You can cruise up. And they made it fire engine red, so they made one fire engine red. So
well, first of all, you talking structural shit. We didn't have no red lights. And our shit wasn't red. In the Forest Service, it was dookie green.
But you got yellow helmets with red lights on them, don't you?
Well, no, different colored helmets. There's some red, some black, some blue, white. There's all kinds of different colored helmets. But there wasn't no fucking light on it. You had a headlamp so you could see what the hell you was doing, but it wasn't we didn't have no damn strobe light up here.
How many backpacks full of water you think you could put in that tank well?
I don't know, man. When you go out on a fire line and you dig in line, you got to have 2 gallons of water, and you might run out. I usually carry 2.5 gallons of water, and then you had to put a lot of shit in your bag, man. Yeah. It's crazy all the shit you had to carry towed out air.
But back to the thing, like they really listened to people, and they did a lot of really good things with that boat. They have made my decision incredibly difficult because I do like a lot of the aspects of the PA-14. The things that I don't like about the PA-14 are pretty significant, but everything else makes me love that boat. And now Jackson had just come in here and thrown a wrench in the middle of my plans and said, "Ha, joke's on you, fucker. Which one you want?" And it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough.
How was that boat set up to take a front or rear mounted motor?
It's set up perfectly for both, really. So it comes in they have a standard 4-hole pattern back there that you can mount a motor mount back there. Easy, seamless. They're inserts. You don't have to drill. There's no plate that's needed. You literally put your motor mount there, screw in the bolts, and the motor is ready to go on the stern. What they did on the front is they flattened it out and made it kind of square and boxy on the top. That way you can mount a plate where you can put a removable trolling motor bracket on there too.
Nice.
So they really thought that through. And the other thing that they did too was they distributed the weight really well, so that if you have a motor on the front, you can still put a lot of stuff in the back. They put a hatch back there where you can put your battery and run it all the way to the back, so that way you don't have everything up front. And in the same token, with the stern mount motor, they added a lot of storage space in the front where you can now kind of even out that boat, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a 30-pound torpedo on the back of the boat making it come up like this, and you don't want to have a 30-pound trolling motor on the front of the boat making it look like this. You want it to be flat. You want it to be even. And they really thought that process through for whichever person, whichever motor they want. They did that with thought in mind.
And I ask that because you hear people talk about putting motors specifically on the PA14 and how they'll tell you the Kayak wasn't made to have a motor on it. And so, there's some design stuff that people get, the bow mount makes it tilt forward and you're heavy on that end. And, the rear is hard, whatever it is. Hobie being Hobie with the fishing kayak, there's probably a pro angler that comes out, I would say within the next 3 years, that is redesigned for motorized.
I hope so.
For motors, I would expect.
I hope so. I do hope so. I think that they need to improve that boat in that aspect, especially if
Old Town's done it. Old Town's got it, the Knarr. That's why I asked that question. The Knarr has become set up for that. It's
every manufacturer is making it where someone can put a motor on their boat because so many more people are switching over from bass boats and John boats because it's more cost effective to fish out of a kayak. You go out and buy a $70,000 bass boat, and most people aren't going to have the money to put towards tournament entry fees to go fish in that boat, right? $70,000 bass boat is actually an underpriced bass boat nowadays.
Yeah, that's a used one.
Right, that's a used one.
Yeah.
So you're looking at $100,000 bass boat.
But we just had somebody here selling a it was either 1.5 or 2 year old Ranger, fully rigged. I had everything on it. Used $105,000 used.
Yeah. That's wild, isn't it? That's almost as crazy as a $20,000 kayak.
Which sold.
Right, it sold. It did. I mean, I was there at the Classic and I saw that boat, and I mean that thing's a work of art.
It was beautiful. Got it for his 11-year-old son to get into kayak fishing. Tell you what,
can that person be my dad? Where's my dad? Daddy,
Daddy.
Where can I get one of them? Yeah. I need a sugar. I need a sugar mama. You know any women about 50, 60 years old that got a lot of money?
I don't really know anybody that's got a lot of money. Unfortunately, I don't. Oh, I know what the hell I was going to ask you now.
I'm glad I could.
You talked about you like fishing top water. You talked about throwing a Ned rig. You talked about throwing your chatterbait, and then you talked about you got 40 damn rod and reel combos out in the garage. When you go to a new body of water, is that the arsenal you're taking, or can you go out and deep crank and drag a Carolina rig? How does fishing, you will not in the rivers?
You will not catch me throwing a Carolina rig. I promise you. Promise you won't. If that's the bite, I'll go home on Saturday. I typically, what I try to do is I try to put in a lot of research prior to the event when I'm going to a new body of water. I'm talking a lot of research. I neglect my family often to look at some research on some water. And that's going to, checking out tournament results from the weeks prior, from last year. I'm trying to look at, what the bite should be that time of year to make sure that I have everything in my arsenal that I need. And once I figure that out, I'll take what I need to take plus, what I'm most comfortable with. And sometimes that might be 8 rods. Sometimes that might be 12 rods. But I take what I think is I'll get in depth with it too. I'll take what I think the bite's going to be, and I'll try that first. But I always have my go-to, my comfort zone stuff That way I can come back to it if I was wrong. So I really try to. I don't take all 40 with me on every single time, but 12 is normally about the max that I'll take to a traveling tournament, just because anything past that, I'm too dumb to realize I brought it. I'll forget. I'm like, shit, I got a deep cranker rod in there, and I 7 foot 10 inches long, and I didn't even remember I brought it.
Yeah.
So,
well, and when you're at some of these ramps that we're at from the kayaks, and you got gear and shit in there that's visible, there's good chance it might not be there when you get back.
Buddy, let me tell you about some ramps on the Coosa River, okay? Oh my word. That place was something else. And I've been told that's not even the worst part of Alabama. But yeah, I was at some ramps there. They were rather sketch. And Seminole too. Seminole had some sketchy ass ramps.
I bet.
The ramp that I won out of on the first year that they had it there, I won there that first year. I went back there on the second year, and I found used condoms on the ground. I found needles on the ground. I'm like, boy, somebody was having a party up in here. Somebody was really getting their thing on here, where they were really having a good time at this ramp. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, goodness gracious, I hope I don't step on something.
That's right.
But
shit, Crocs were a bad idea.
Crocs at that point were a terrible idea. Get me some closed toe. I need some safety boots,
leather steel toe boots at this ramp next time.
Steel shanks too, because you don't want to step on any of the hypodermic needles.
That's right.
But yeah,
they go through anything.
There were some sketchy ass boat ramps that I've been to over the past few years with the BOS, and I'm just like, well, I'm glad I got an Airbnb and I can leave some shit at my house, because I am not leaving shit in my vehicle here. But,
that's like I'm pretty sure this was Bailey from Serious Angler. He asked
Bailey's
somebody. Yeah. Oh man, I love Bailey. He asked somebody going down to Eufaula. He's like, man, you bring your sidearm with you. And is he like for the animals? And I can't remember who the hell he was asking. It might have been Ryan. I can't remember. Anyway, for the animals, and the guy goes, and the people.
And the people. That ain't no lie. That ain't no lie, man. I mean, I'll tell you what, dude. I love the South, buddy, but there's some interesting folks. But honestly, the same thing could be said here. So I'll tell you,
when you get out into the nether reaches, the boat ramps of it don't matter where the fuck you live. When you get to the boat ramps, that's a different fucking breed of people, man.
I don't understand the infatuation with having sexual relations at the boat ramp. So I've seen this plenty of times where you roll up on two people at the boat ramp and you're like, what are y'all doing here? Y'all ain't got no fishing poles. You're sitting in a dark ass boat ramp. And you're like, why are y'all here? Right. But here's the other thing. And I'm going to tell you the craziest set of things I've found at a boat ramp was right here at home on the Susquehanna River. We have a boat ramp called Montgomery's Ferry. Okay. Montgomery's Ferry boat ramp is directly across the road from a swingers club called TJ's Lasting Impressions. I rolled up that boat ramp one morning, and on the ground down by the boat ramp, there was an enema and a used condom. An enema and a used condom. I was very confused. I didn't quite understand what had happened here. I didn't know. I didn't know if I should call the police. I was very confused.
Did you call it Google?
I did not. I put my boat in the water, parked, and I got the hell out of there, because I'm like, man, that's just doesn't seem like the right. I don't know. There was also a bunch of cigarette butts around too, so they were there for a while.
Oh wow!
So it was really real awkward. I mean, I don't understand it, but yeah, you find some crazy shit at some of these boat ramps we go to.
No, it's something else, man. It's something else. Some of the shit is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Even in Knoxville, like when we went down to Fort Loudon and Watts Bar, and all that. Like those places were a little weird too.
That's in the city too.
Yeah, I mean,
Some of them.
I was like, man, I'm like, I didn't know, I didn't even know city folk knew boat ramps existed, let alone some of the
Came
shit
out
they
here
were
and
doing.
partied at them.
Yeah, I mean, they do some crazy stuff, but yeah, you really need to make it up here to Susquehanna to go fishing, man. Even if
I
it's not for
got
a tournament.
Well, I've got so many places that I need to make it to go fish. Like I want to go smalley fishing with Bailey and Catmandrew. Well,
Okay.
that's a bucket list for me. I got my own business about a year and a half old, so we got a little bit more growing to do before I can start doing that. But I got to go to Santee this year. It was my first national event, so next year I'm hoping to get out to a few more. But
How many places can you go catch a Great Lakes sized smallmouth in 2 foot of water that's only 6 hours away from you?
But the only smallmouth I have ever caught in my entire fucking life was about this big, and it was on the Savannah River in the Augusta, Georgia area, and because there's decent smallmouth there. Augusta, Georgia, on the Savannah River is where the rapids end,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's the only smallmouth I've caught. It was probably 4 or 5 inches.
Another thing you need to catch is shoal bass.
Yep. Shoal bass. I was just talking to a guy on Instagram, and he's up in the Georgia area, and they were shoal bass fishing
Mm-hmm.
and caught a couple nice ones. Sent me pictures of them. So
Those fish are something else, man. They are an interesting combination of anger. They really like they just a pretty hateful fish. They're just like a smallmouth in a lot of ways, but they have some largemouth features, but they're aggressive, man. Like I think the last year at Seminole, the big shoal bass I caught was like 20 and a half inches. That son bitch hit, and I thought for sure, oh my god, that's a catfish. That's got to be a catfish. Like he hit and just dogged me out. I'm like, man, like he's pulling down. Like I'm like, this got to be a catfish. But he never rolled, and then he came up, and I was like, oh, that's green. Like what in the world? But
man, is any fish that lives in current is
true.
is
Yeah.
is different. I mean, they live a different life. They're there's never a time to rest.
Right. And that's one thing. So one of my mentors in this sport, Jeff Little, he taught me how to fish the river. Really, basically, he's one of these people that is just he's a teacher at heart, but he taught me how to fish the river, and I'll always remember the fact that he always told me these fish are on a treadmill. They're constantly on a treadmill, and if you're always on a treadmill, you have to consume something to keep your energy up. Even in the wintertime, they're not they go away from the treadmill in the wintertime, and they go to the slowest part of the river that they can find because their metabolism slows down, but they still have to eat. So
Are
it
they
could be
still in 3 foot of water, 2 to 3 foot of water?
so recently what's happened with we have an infestation.
Spit it out, boy.
So we have flathead catfish.
Okay.
And they have been migrating up the river into the prime time smallmouth water, and they've really did a real number on the bait fish population. But the reason I'm saying that is because now what's happening is in the wintertime, the fish where they used to go winter in the very, very deep, slow pools of the river, they've migrated away from those areas because now flathead catfish are occupying those areas. And flatheads are very territorial. So if and mean, and they're strong, and they got mouths that are big enough to eat any fish in the river. So, they because they've migrated into those areas and kind of taken over those wintering holes, smallmouth have now started to branch out because they're tired of getting bit. And most of the time those flatheads aren't eating them because they're hungry. They're eating them because they're within their territory. and you'll find 19, 20-inch smallmouth with these little round bite marks on them because the catfish have ate them or have tried to, put them in their mouth. And, so now the smallmouth, like I said, they've moved out to other areas that are similar that might not have the depth, and it really just kind of slows down their metabolism even more because the temperature's colder. They're in colder water because it's not as deep.
Mm-hmm.
So they, we've been finding them in the past year and a half, 2 years. We've been finding them more shallow and more shallow and more shallow. But one thing that is consistent is a diminished current flow. If you can find a diminished current flow or no flow at all with any amount of depth, you'll typically find the smallmouth in that type of location in the wintertime. But the really deep holes where they used to migrate to, and you would go to, like we have one hole on the river that's like 20 some feet deep, right? And you would go there in the wintertime and you would have 100, 150 fish days.
Stat.
Now you're catching 50 flatheads.
Are y'all keeping the flatheads and trying to eradicate them?
That's a loaded question, sir. It's illegal to. I mean, so
you can't keep a fucking catfish and
you
eat
can,
it.
You can keep. Listen, you can keep them, but you keep a fish out of this river and eat it. Talk to me when you're 50. I'm not sure you're gonna make it, but talk to me when you're 50 because I want to know that you made it. This river's polluted, and I would not eat anything out of this river. So what you find here is the hardcore diehard bass fishermen are catching these flatheads and disposing of them. And I'm not going to say on video what I do with them because Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission might be knocking on my door tomorrow with a little ticket saying, "Here, I need you to sign this."
Well,
but
look, I mean, I know you take them home and eat them. You ain't got to pretend that you don't make catfish nuggets.
100%. That's what I do.
I mean,
And then I feed them to my dog.
Your poor dog.
Where's he at, dude? He's asleep right now. That's
My God, why is the dog's got so bad? Why is he farting so bad? Oh, he had flathead tonight for dinner.
Yeah, dude. Did you see the picture of the crawfish that I posted on Instagram?
Yeah.
Do you know how big that damn thing was?
It looks big, but you didn't have no measurement tool beside it.
It was every bit of 3.5 inches, and that's not even the big. That's not even a big one.
Damn, that's like a typical lobster.
That's a typical size crawfish in this lake or in this river.
You got enough to catch and have a crawfish bowl?
Yeah, but buddy, let me tell you about the E. coli levels in this river. I don't think.
Do you see the shit where the shit water that people eat from the Louisiana?
I don't want to be from Louisiana. I don't want to be from. I want to visit Louisiana, but I don't want to be from there.
But if you eat anything caught out of if you eat any kind of fish, see where that shit come from.
Do you know Jay Wallen?
Yeah, but we met once at Santee, and I've had some conversations. I know Jay.
I want you
buddies or nothing.
I want you to reach out to Jay Wallen and ask him how many disposable butt wipes he caught in the Susquehanna last year. Just reach out and ask him how many disposable butt wipes did you catch in the Susquehanna last year?
I'm gonna call them ass wipes.
That's fine. You can call them turd wipes.
So like, is this because of people floating the river, taking dookies? Nope. And
so here's what happens. So all these areas around the Susquehanna River are pretty built up for the most part, right? There's cities all along this river that are pretty built up, and they've been here for a long time. And unfortunately, the cities have outgrown the public works systems. Every time we get a high water event, the public works systems cannot handle the amount of water that's incoming. So they spit straight out. And what happens is They spit out into the river, and who knows how many gallons of raw sewage they'll put into the river. They don't give a shit. They do give shit. They give shit right into the river, but they don't care about any potential fines, because the cost of replacing or upgrading the public works systems outweighs the cost of what the fines will be for just releasing it.
That's why them damn fish in there are so big and so fucking angry. They got shit flowing through their gills all day long.
You're
apparently.
100% right. You are 100% right. But seriously, like last year, so I fished down at City Island in Harrisburg quite a bit. And last year, the E. coli levels at City Island pool were about 3 times the acceptable limit.
But that you don't even want to put your feet in the water at that point, because if you got a cut or something, an open wound, it doesn't have to be big.
Right.
Like you're just asking to get some kind of nastiness.
Yeah. And it gets worse on the city side too. When you go to the city side, and you know, that's where Jay was fishing a good bit down there last year. And he caught himself a lot of disposable ass wipes. And he even asked me, he's like, "Is this normal?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's normal." I'm like, "Fucking right, that's normal, dude." I'm like, that's a prize catch in the Susquehanna, dude. You got to with that.
You better put that motherfucker on your catch board and submit it.
But see, the problem is sometimes they come up brown, and you're like,
that's a true greenback.
Yeah, it's something.
Look, man, it's got a racist stripe on it.
Yeah, it's bad, dude. Like but seriously, that shit happens, and that's why, you know, I won't eat anything out of the river. Now, if I go into some of the feeder creeks, if I catch the right fish, like if I catch a walleye or something, or, you know, in one of the feeder creeks, I'll definitely keep that and eat it. But the closer I get to the river, the less I'm often, you know, opting to keep that fish, just because it could be a migrating fish from the river. There's a lot of pollution in here, man. It's bad.
Yeah.
And I can't get down with the fact that I could be eating somebody else's shit.
Look, we won't go into it much, but there are a lot of people to this day, year 2022, I see people go to the fucking bathroom and leave without washing their hands all the time.
You know what though? I'm gonna try to defend those people a little bit right now. I've been to some Alabama bathrooms. And let me tell you something. I felt a little bit more comfortable touching my dirty ass than I did touching that sink.
At least have some hand sanitizer in your pocket so you can lather up. I mean, I don't leave the house without hand sanitizer, but damn.
I got some good stuff in my car. It smells like oranges. It's awesome. Cause I've been out on the river where I've had to wipe my ass with like a t-shirt or something like that. You know? And
you got all that fucking storage in the front of your kayak and you ain't got no booty wipes in the front.
Sometimes I forget. So, you know, I got a t-shirt. I'll take the t-shirt off, and, you know, that now my belly button's hanging out, but I wipe my ass with the t-shirt. And then naturally,
I'll take the sleeve.
No,
taking the wrong part of the shirt.
No, I do. This is the softest part down here. So, I'll get that, and then I'll use a hand sanitizer, and then my hands smell like oranges and shit. Can you feel me like Steve? Yeah. Okay. I love you, bud. But yeah, man, it's a dirty river. Hold on while my kid gets me some iced tea, because this is why you have kids, right? They're like,
but my son can't look Carter. If you look at any of my Instagram and my YouTube, he's got his own hashtag, can't look Carter. And I try to unload the dishwasher. I gotta unload the dishwasher. I don't feed the dogs, but I fed the dogs last night.
So my kid, I don't have any problem whatsoever with this young man doing chores. He will do them. But this is Boomhauer. This is a Pennsylvania Boomhauer right here.
What's up, Boomhauer?
Dang on, man.
Ball, damn, Hank. We go out there, drink beer. You know, oh, best Boomhauer. Look, best Boomhauer was when they had the damn bird. He's like that whoop crane, really got like woo woo woo. Look at he got that cool right there.
That I'm telling you, dude, that is this kid. We'll be sitting there at dinner talking about something, and he's just like, he has no fucking idea what he's talking about. But we love him to death, so we let him eat here. You know, so
hey, you wouldn't believe how many people come up and say, I understand half the shit Paul said on the podcast last night, but I laughed.
I understand you because of Boomhauer.
Yeah, there you go. You got training.
I got you. I got my own little trainer here, so I gotta understand it. But hey, I love you. Good night. I hope you have a good day at school tomorrow. If I don't wake up and see you, all right. I don't know if I'm gonna wake up or.
I tell my kids all the time. It's like, look, I ain't have kids, so I had to continue doing the dishwasher.
You know what I mean? So. I gotta tell you something though, man. Like I've kind of relaxed on him recently with the chores because he just turned 14 last year, and he asked me to get a job. And you don't see that nowadays with most kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like he asked me to get a job. You know, I was proud of that because it's like he doesn't want to be here. Which you know,
that's all Mom's doing.
Maybe it might be he's acting like his mother, but you know,
apologize.
They just did a high five in there, so it's you know it's me against the world in this house, but it's just me and the dog. We're the lazy ones, right? But yeah, I was proud of him, man. He got he got himself a job, and he works every weekend now, and he's making money and. You know, I can't be mad at that because you're not going to find many kids these days that want to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's different. Now that's different. I mean, the chores are there for get them to get that mentality, and plus, I just don't want to bend over and risk hurting my back doing the damn dishwasher and not be able to go fishing. So you know what I'm saying.
This is true. I mean, we got to think about priorities here. See, babe. That's why you got to do the dishes because I can't risk hurting my back and not be able to go fishing.
I know. What if you slice your hand open and can't cast?
Especially on the casting hand. Yeah. See that? These are dangerous problems to have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you see this with me.
I do. You
got an empty bed.
For me?
No, for me to come stay because I'm about to get kicked out of my house.
But my garage has a 72-inch screen TV in here. It's you bring a blow up mattress, but you're free to live in. Matter of fact, you see, I'm in this. I'm in a 19. I think this is like a 1979 or 1981 Lazy Boy recliner. Man, it's comfortable as hell. I done fell asleep out here once or twice, maybe.
Yeah, I hear you. Mm-hmm. I tend to fall asleep on the couch sometimes, and then my wife just leaves me there.
Look, I'll fall asleep and won't ever get nothing said to me. But let me be out here having a good time at 2:00 in the morning talking fishing. And I'm getting texts. Why are you still down there talking? My wife don't sound like that. She ain't the least bit country. But
did she watch your podcast?
Oh hell no. Hell no. I'm pretty sure she unfriended me on like Instagram too.
I actually
or block me. I'm pretty sure she doesn't watch any of my shit anymore because I don't get any comments like real life comments like why are you doing that?
I actually had to ask my wife to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then I have to make her watch my videos.
Well, my son's 8, and he's like, "Daddy, I want to watch your new video." I'm like, "Boy." I have to click a button that says my video is not made for kids, so you can't watch it just this morning, he's wanting to go tell his friends to go to subscribe to my YouTube channel so I can get more subscribers. I'm
Don't
like,
do it.
no.
Don't do it. I don't need all these parents calling me talking about, what are you telling my children?
Yeah, no, at all, nothing at all. I mean, it's not bad, but when I do talk to the camera, you said you talking to the camera. So before I put a camera in the kayak, I talk to myself very self-deprecatingly. Talk to myself. Like I get really angry at fishing, losing fish, missing fish, shit getting hung up. And when you put your ass in a little old kayak, some of the stupidest shit happens to getting line tangled, and it's just some of the dumbest shit ever happens. But when I put the cameras in the boat, now I'm like talking to the damn camera, and I cast my shit into a tree, and I'm cussing and hollering and throwing shit. I've only made 2, but I do these little reaction videos to other people's fishing videos. And so that's what he wanted to watch. I was like, my wife was on. I was like, I can't remember what I said, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't need to watch that.
I'll say this, man. Whenever I started filming myself in the boat, that's when I really made a conscious effort to try to stop cursing while I was fishing. And I said, I want to try to stop cursing while I was fishing, because naturally when you start cursing, it compounds the anger. And now you'll see me, like, I'll lose a fish and I'll be like, right.
Oosa,
and I just this exhale of everything. Right.
Yeah.
But then I make another cast. And if you think about that, 2 years ago, if the camera wouldn't be on me and I lost that fish, you stupid motherfucker. And 15 seconds later, I might finally make another cast.
Oh, hell no. See, I don't have that problem. I'm going to be casting cussing still. I mean, I'm going to have made 30 casts. Yeah, I do. I fish, but I'm a very happy-go-lucky. I love people. I love talking to people. I love meeting people like that. I like that shit. But folks want to go fishing with me all the time. And I tell them, I used to not be this blunt, but now I am. I say, that's fine, but I'm not fun to fish with. Right. I don't talk. I talk to myself. I holler at myself. Like, I'm not just going to sit around in a spot and go spot to spot, hanging out, talking, shooting the shit. Like, when I go fish, I get my ADHD goes to hyper mode. And like, that's all that's in my mind. And I'm not fun to fish with. But I get angry as hell, but I don't ever stop. I mean, I just get more hateful. I'm not a good caster. I fish a lot of crankbaits. I like to line that shit. I want to sling it.
Right.
Like I don't do a lot of close up stuff. Like, I'm not a good accurate caster. I'm a slinger. And so I just get to slinging it harder and harder. I mean, I don't.
You got to turn the brakes up when you do that.
I do usually have to put a little bit into it. But yeah. Being in the kayak does make it a little bit easier to get centered quicker, because you can't fuck around.
Did you ever cast yourself right out the boat?
No, I've never gone. I'm pretty conscious about being on there because I look, I'm not a gearhead. I don't have a lot of shit.
Right.
And if I lose stuff, I don't just go replace it tomorrow. Right. It's a while. I don't have a lot of stuff. So the thing that worries me the most about flipping or anything is like losing my shit.
Right.
Because it'll be lost for a while if I lose it. So I'm pretty conscious about that. But the Hobie's a fucking stable platform, man. I mean,
it really is. So I got to tell you a funny story, man. And this one's wild, right? So I think it was 2018. I was fishing, maybe 2019. No, it was 2018. 2018, I was fishing a tournament back home where I grew up. Drove back home, and it was a river that I fished in as a kid for my entire childhood. And I was like, man, I'm so excited, right? I'm going to float this stretch from here to here. I fished this area before as a kid. I know it. Like, I'm going to do good. And I was like, this is my jam. So I do. I was sitting, I think I finished in 4th place in that tournament out of 40 or 50 some. And, but what happened during that tournament, my dumbass picked the deepest part of the river to drop something off the side of my kayak. Now you're thinking, Jake, you drop something, it's gone, right? No, I dropped a whopper plopper off the side of my kayak, and for some ungodly fucking reason, I thought that I had to reach for that thing so quick. I said, "Oh my God, I dropped it! I got it!" And that I did this, and I had that Predator PDL upside down, and I was underneath of it. Now here's where it gets good. I was underneath the kayak. I had a paddle leash. Don't have one of those anymore. Got tangled in my feet. Okay. So I couldn't kick my feet. I was tangled up. Had to cut that. I'm underneath the fucking water at this point. So I cut that, get it loose, come back to top side, go, fuck, I'm in 18 feet of water. Let me just swim this 125-pound boat over to the shoreline. I get it flipped back over. I had 5 rods in my old milk crate. All 5 of them were still stuck in my milk crate.
Damn.
The only thing I lost that day was the fucking whopper plopper that floated. My wife's over here laughing at me. I lost the fucking whopper plopper that floated and a net from Bass Pro that cost $5.
That's insane, man.
I thought to myself, I almost died. They would have found me washed up on the shoreline, upside down, tangled in my paddle leash, with my fucking rod stuck in my rod tubes, and a whopper plopper down at the dam, stuck in the dam. And they'd have been like, who's whopper plopper is this? It's brand new. I was like, what in the hell? I got lucky. I got so lucky.
You did, but that brings up a great safety point too about people tethering all their shit down.
Stupid.
Bo, the more shit you got tied onto your kayak.
Yep.
That's more shit for you to get tangled in. And so, like, a lot of people can't deal with catastrophes in the moment, right? A good example is people drowning if their car runs off the road and goes into a pond and they drown because they couldn't take their seatbelt off because they don't know how to handle this pressure, right? So they don't push the button to take their seatbelt off. They're trying to get out. It's the same thing when a situation like that happens. Shit happens, man. It's crazy.
I think back to military training and law enforcement training. I think definitely helped me keep my cool in that situation, because you're right. My feet were tangled and I probably would have just died, right? If I was just an average person that didn't know how to deal with those kinds of stressful events, I probably would have died. But I realized that my feet were tangled up in something, and I remembered that I had a knife on my life jacket. So I just grabbed the knife and cut it.
Yeah.
And most people wouldn't have been able to process. They would still be down there trying to fight and they get breathing in water, and then they'd end up,
Yeah. I mean, the kayaks that a lot of us are in are safe. I mean, they can completely fill up with water and they ain't going to the bottom.
Right.
They're still going to be there. The majority of them, they're going to be floating, and you're going to be able to be floating in it. It's not like a boat. It's not going to go to Davy Jones' locker. but you still have to be mindful of the shit you have in there that could hinder, you know, how you deal with that situation for sure.
My buddy Jeff and another good friend of mine, Juan Varut. Jeff Little and Juan Varut used to teach kayak classes on the Susquehanna River. And when they would have people show up for these kayak classes with their own boats and everything, one of the first things they always did was a gear check, right?
Mm.
And immediately, if anybody had any kind of leash, they said, get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that they got rid of. Entanglement is the quickest way to die. And that was the, and me and Jeff and Juan actually made a video, I think it was last winter, where we talked about cold water safety and what to do if you flip your boat in cold water. And that's something that we talked about specifically was those entanglement issues. Mm-hmm. Aside from the fact that, if you're fishing any kind of cold water, you should be wearing a dry suit, and you definitely should be wearing a damn PFD. You're stupid if you're not.
Yeah.
But, we get that kind of cold water up here where you need that dry suit, because what happens is, that shit will, it'll cool your core temperature down so quick that you'll just lose motor function and
Mm-hmm.
your heart will stop, But the PFD is big because that involuntary gasp
That's right.
caused by that going underneath that water, one of those is filling up your lungs, So, those three things, the entanglement, the dry suit, and the PFD were things that I harp on with people.
Yeah, the PFD, man, there's so many folks that get all up in arms about I can swim or I'm in this and I'm in that. And that's not the point.
Right.
Like the majority of people who drown in boating accidents every year can swim.
Right. It's funny as hell. Like, so naturally up here, we'll get a day in March that's like 80 degrees. It happens every year. It's stupid. It'll be 20 degrees one day, and the next day it's fucking 75.
Yeah.
And then what happens is every dumbass that has a sit inside kayak wants to pull their sit inside kayak out and go out on the river. They'll be out there 75 degrees. Most of the time, I don't want to point any fingers, but most of the time they're female. And, they're out there in their bathing suit and they're catching the sun rays, right? They're catching them sun rays. No life jacket on. And they always want to take their kid with them.
Mm-hmm.
And their
no life jacket on the kid.
Their kid don't have a life jacket. and they'll have like a pair of floaties on their arm.
But the water is
the water's still 35 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, every year it happens. And then they post it on the Susquehanna not Susquehanna fishing pages, but like the Susquehanna River fan pages, And naturally what happens is a shitstorm. Yeah. Because everybody that knows is like, you're fucking stupid. You're the reason why firefighters have to risk their life down at the Lowhead Dam to pull your dumb ass out of the water because you fucking flipped your kayak in 35-degree water. It happens every year.
Yeah, the PFD. I mean, that's if you're going to be in a kayak and in general. But if you're out there by yourself, I mean, so crazy shit happens when you come out of that boat. Crazy shit happens. It doesn't matter what it is. Stress. Maybe you pass out from. Who knows?
Right.
But if you are incoherent, or if you're incapacitated, motherfucker, you can't swim.
Right. Yeah.
At least have a vest that's hopefully gonna keep your head bobbing.
Right.
So you can be passed out and breathe. But anyway. Right. All right, look, we need to wrap this up. We've got at our 2-hour mark now, and I know the way you talk and have listened before. These questions supposed to be shotgun questions, but there's always some badgering that can go on during these. So we're gonna get on these shotgun questions now. Here's the deal. I'm gonna ask you the question. There ain't no and this or well maybe. You answer the fucking question, and then we'll either, since it's just me, I'll either give you a hard time or agree with you. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, I know the answer to this one, but we got to ask it anyway. Crocs or flip-flops?
Crocs.
Hey-o. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. I mean, you didn't have to think about that nasty shit,
Fuck
too,
no. Pineapple on pizza is phenomenal.
Oh, my God.
I don't give a shit. Hate me
That's
if you want to.
terrible. I don't. Look, if that's all I got to eat, I'll eat the hell out of that damn pizza. You going to spend more on a rod or a reel?
Oh, a reel.
Really? I took you for a rod guy.
Well, I have a rod sponsor, so my reels are cheaper or my reels are more expensive.
Who's your rod sponsor?
Temple Fork Outfitters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're good, real good company. Texas company.
Sweet. In a 3-hour session, 5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
1 7-pounder.
There we go. There we go.
I don't give a shit about no 5-pounders if they're 7-pounders.
Wait, 2-pounders, not 5-pounders. 5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
1 7-pounder.
Yeah, always and everything.
100% all the time.
Yeah. Wacky rig or Texas rig?
Wacky.
You gonna Nico it, or you gonna just throw that little bitch out there and let it float?
Wacky. Nothing.
Ugh.
No way.
Ugh. I haven't the patience for that shit at all. I Nico rig it all, and I Nico rig it with a fucking roofing nail because I'm cheap. And you lose every damn one of them. But I have not the patience for the whack.
You don't have to wait whenever you wacky rig around smallmouth.
Well, that's different. Yeah, I ain't. Yeah, I ain't fishing for no smallmouth.
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten beaver?
Yeah. Which my wife would say yes. No, not the animal. No.
Yes, we're talking about the animal, you heathen fuck.
Yeah, no, I have not eaten. I've
not
not
eaten. Delicious. Y'all got big beaver up there, man. They're delicious.
The beaver up here is great. You're right.
Oh, look, Alex hadn't given me the updated answers yet, so I'm asking old ones, and I'm forgetting some of the ones he asked, but don't matter. So, do you eat largemouth bass?
Absolutely not.
What the? Why?
It tastes like shit.
What's wrong with you? Oh my God, that's what everybody says. And all right, you come down here. We're gonna catch crappie. We're gonna catch largemouth bass. We're gonna catch catfish, and we're gonna catch carp. We're gonna fillet every one of them out. I'm gonna fry them, and you're gonna have to name which one's which.
I'll eat a damn carp before I eat a largemouth bass.
I promise you, largemouth bass will be in one of your top 2 choices.
Right.
I can guarantee it. People, I can't believe it, man.
Fine.
Jeez.
The next 6-pounder I catch, I'm gonna fillet it up.
Hell yeah, do it. I'm all for it, man.
All right.
Hey, you better post it on YouTube too.
I ain't doing that shit. I'm fucking shot. In this state, you catch a 6-pounder and keep it and fillet it, somebody's gonna shoot your ass.
I ain't keeping no fish that big and filleting. I can guarantee you that. But I will eat some 12 to 14 inches of eaters down here where I am and where I grew
I'll have to
up.
try it. I'll try it out next time I go and they're in season.
All right, this is the question that we're known for. All 18 people who listen to us in the Canal of Panama, this is what they listen to 2 hours plus of this podcast for is this, the end. And not the end, but the end question. You know how anglers love sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
What are your top 3 sandwich proteins?
Proteins. So we're talking about meat. Oh, I like a ham sandwich. That's my first option. With some Colby Jack cheese. I like turkey with Colby Jack cheese. And I'm a big fan of bologna. Mix it all together. Yeah. But I just like my bologna with ketchup.
What? Like you frying that shit? Or you just eating cold ass bologna with ketchup?
Cold bologna and ketchup.
What the? That's weird as shit right there, man. That's some weird ass shit right there.
Listen, I'll tell you, most of the time when I go fishing, I don't take a sandwich.
I don't either. I don't want no fucking soggy ass fucking wet bread.
Right. So we have these stores up here called Sheets.
Oh hell yeah!
Right.
But being sheet, look, you don't see my look behind me on my refrigerator.
Oh, you're a Sheets freak.
Oh, they sent me a goodie bag. Me and Sheets have all kinds of Instagram talks.
What's wrong over there? Oh, that's the dog. The dog, you're making the dog cry.
Oh shit!
I don't know why he's crying, but he's crying.
He don't eat largemouth either.
He said that's bullshit. You shouldn't eat your bag. He does. Hey, the dog does have his own Instagram.
Oh no shit! What's his Instagram?
Bruno the Irish Doodle. But that's going on the whiteboard. Pup, you're gonna get followed. Are you gonna do his voice? No, he has his own voice. The dog has his own voice, and when the wife and I want to fight with each other, we use the dog's voice. Because if the dog says it, we can't be held accountable for it.
There you go. That's right.
But he has his own voice. But yeah, I take so I go to Sheets and I get the turkey bites with the resealable bag, and man, I will fuck some turkey bites up.
I usually I'll stop and get like a Slim Jim or Sasquatch snack stick or something like that. That's about maybe some beef jerky, but I don't eat. I mean,
wait, next time you're at Sheets, look for the turkey bites.
They're over there in the beef jerky section.
Yep, it's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah,
it's gonna blow.
I'll have to do that. So I literally go to Sheets every day, Monday through Friday. And if I fish, I'm there on Saturday and Sunday morning before I go fishing.
Yeah, I think every place we go on the tournament trail should have a damn Sheets.
I know everybody want to talk about them Buc-ee's stuff, but give me Sheets. Sheets.
Yeah, Sheets, right, all the way. All the way.
Well, Jake, man, thanks for coming on. You know, I've listened to you on some other stuff, and then finally got to get together last night, and we got this set up. Anybody you want to thank, your sponsors, your wife for putting up with you, like anything like that.
Well,
shout it out now.
I guess I'll say thank you to her for allowing me to spend 2 hours talking to you, and not giving me any shit about it. But the sponsorship deal, I've been a long time member of Team Torqeedo. They are probably the biggest sponsor that I have. Second to them is a company called Innovative Sportsman. He sells Torqeedo products, but he also makes kayak accessories, and he does kayak rigging. By trade, he's a welder, but he's branched out into kayak fishing, and he's really doing a lot of really cool things up here. He's definitely my second biggest. Temple Fork Outfitters with my rods. They brought me up, moved me up from a pro staff to an ambassador. Holy shit, gassy tonight, but pro staff to an ambassador level.
It's some Tums.
Right, I know, I do. And then this year, I actually just got brought on with Yak Attack after a couple years of pursuing that and trying to do the right things. They saw some value in me and brought me on, and that's really a really cool sponsor to have because they make so many cool products. But outside of that, I mean, those are the main ones. Those are the big ones. Those are the ones that really make it possible for me to do what I do with kayak fishing. And I didn't talk a lot about this during the podcast, but either this summer or next year, I'm going to be opening up a kayak fishing guide service here on the Susquehanna River.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to be using an Innovative Sportsman boat that's not released yet. It's going to be an inflatable watercraft, and it's going to be powered by Torqeedo. And when someone comes to do a guide trip with me, they are going to be using a Temple Fork Outfitters rod and whatever reels I decide to put on them. And they will not have to bring anything outside of themselves, maybe some Crocs to walk the river in. And I wouldn't actually suggest Crocs, but
it sounds like you need, waders that are cut proof resistant and stick resistant. I mean, Kevlar waders, I guess, is what you need.
I probably won't be guiding people in the shitty part of the river in the Harrisburg area.
You don't want no client reeling in no duty rag.
Right. I don't want to have to recover that. But it's something that I planned on doing this year, but with supply chain issues, it's just getting pushed back. And I think it's going to be a really cool deal. I think being able to introduce people to this river and just taking them out to have fun, man, it's such a cool place.
Yeah, I've only heard great things about it, man. It's definitely a place I want to get up to.
Yeah, and that's the goal. I honestly, it may cause me to ride in a back seat for tournament fishing next year, where I may not even tournament fish, because I want to try to build this guide service and do it the right way. If I can do that and introduce people to this river and see that enjoyment in their faces whenever they catch a big smallmouth, I don't need to tournament fish. I mean, it's
hell yeah.
That's an endeavor that's on the back burner right now, but it's going to happen.
Nice.
So really excited for that.
We'll definitely be in touch, and when that does happen, we'll make sure we put it out to all 18 people from the Panama Canal, all of our brewskis. Well, hey man, again, thanks. This was awesome. This is a really good time. There was a lot of good fishing information shared at the beginning of this podcast. Now we
sprinkled in with some other shit.
Well, that's what we do, man.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
People come here for the entertainment, but the tidbits of information they get throughout is the best part of it. But they want to listen to the whole thing because they don't know when they're going to be laughing or when they're going to need to be taking a note on something useful.
Right.
So that's what we built. We build it off of straight chaos. It's chaos.
Well, you have a pretty awesome product. Giving people that voice to just talk and be themselves. Not a lot of places offer that these days.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I told you before we started, it's just us sitting around a campfire, shooting the shit, talking fishing. It's that simple.
Right.
And that's the way we want to make it. So I'm grateful, and thank you for saying that.
Alex,
you see what you did? Alex, you built this. We'll have to have you on again when Alex is here too. Because
yeah, man. I love to come back and talk to the puddle pirate.
Oh. On that, we are ending this because I've never heard of a puddle pirate before, but that fucking shit was hilarious. We're going to end it. Hang on. I'll holler at you a second. We'll get this zone.
All right.
Thanks, y'all. Hooks at Hoodlums. Go check them out. Thanks for sitting here listening to this podcast. Go subscribe to the Bass and Brews YouTube so you can start getting your stuff there. Check out the TikTok. Alex has been killing it over there. We'll holler at y'all later.